Gothamites, and welcome to the Gotham After Show on thestream.tv. And I'm here, Mark Cirillo, with my co-host, Jay is back.
Hello.
Welcome back, Jay.
Thank you.
And Kristin, of course,
Happy
always
early
to my right.
Halloween!
She's cosplaying.
Oh God, did I choose the right episode to start cosplaying?
Yeah, the perfect
your
episode.
last chance to do that cosplay, so there's that. All right, so invite your friends to join the conversation, by the way, while we're here, using the hashtag GothamAS, because we were actually scrolling and looking for questions right before, so send them in, because we can do that also during the break, and we will give you a shout-out and answer your questions live, not just by tweeting back to you. Mm-hmm. All right, so we have a lot to discuss tonight.
Yeah.
This was a really cool episode, but what I thought was most interesting was that it brought up a lot of recurring themes on this show that I've wanted to talk about a lot, like women, children, a new origin story for Riddler. We actually have talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
So I'd like to start with the biggest topic, which I think, which is women, mainly because also Firefly is a woman on the show, which I love. I love that they made her a woman. Mm-hmm. I wasn't here last week, so I couldn't talk about that then.
Yes, totally.
So it even seems like she might even be a Gotham City siren now. She
I'm
was like
so excited about
squatting
that.
with the girls.
Yes, I'm so excited about that. We talked about the potential for having Babs come in and be like the den mother. I think that was you, Jay, that was saying pointing that out.
I was like, yeah, she could be like, you know, the Mrs. Garrett of the house. Like Harley comes in, she's a little older than the rest of them.
Yeah, she's like the Harley Joker crossover. We're not quite sure who she is, but I think that's really amazing. And I do think that it was a really cool moment for us to realize at the very end of the episode that she wasn't dead. Although we've been told that she was, she is not dead. And I was actually really excited about Firefly getting her horrible, and I know that's terrible to say, I was excited that she got horribly burned. I'm sorry for saying that, but
you can
that's
say
her catalyst.
only because it's in line with the Firefly in the comic books.
Yeah.
And,
It's her
and
catalyst for
it's
going
It's her origin
crazy.
story.
It's part of the origin story.
I think women, though, in this episode, this episode was very woman-heavy,
Yes.
which I really appreciated. But then at the same time, they kind of go. Gotham has an issue with women, right? This episode we saw Selina, we saw Firefly, even some Barbs was back. I mean, briefly, but
for like a scene, because they had to fit in every female
and yet because of that, I love that, like, right off the bat they're like, so we're gonna put women in cages and chains and sell them because we need to, like, make sure you know that women still need to be objectified.
Right.
Don't get this. This isn't.
We're not all about strong
boys,
women.
Know your place, women of Gotham. Know your place.
So it just seemed that this, and we were talking about while we were watching the episode, even with poor poor Miss Kringle, that everything up to this point, she's been sort of like all she does is talk about the boy that she dates, and then she's killed.
That's actually
and so I think
true.
that's still a problem where they don't know what to do with women a lot in the show.
Unless they're
Totally.
talking about the man that is like, they're basically plot points for the men.
Right.
Which is basically what Kringle has been. Like, whenever he wasn't in the scene, she was talking about him. You know?
She was her own character. I mean, like.
And an interesting and engaging, the actress is great, but like, and adorable, but like,
And she
it was
totally
all
her
based
own,
around the Riddler.
Like in season 1, she was
Enigma.
totally her own character, and she was the like object of his affections. But we got to see a little bit more of who she was, and she was smart and intelligent. And I called it that she was gonna die. I'm so
You didn't want it, but you called it.
I know.
But if we're gonna talk,
But I want to talk about like the women, like so, like you brought up like them being in like cages, which was like such a weird scene when they broke into this human trafficking ring, and
then just kind of looked at them in cages with the fire thing. Also, no one has guns. That whole scene gave
in
me
a human trafficking ring. Every man in that room was gonna have a gun on them or something. But
Seriously.
all their cash on the table. They take the cash, they run, which is. This upsets me about the Selina character, and I've talked about it a lot. Like, they've changed her origin so much in this that, like, the roots of the character have changed. And so, like, one thing about Selina was that, like, that she would help people that were worse off than her, always. And she wouldn't kill, but she would do that. And she paid no attention to the women locked up that were being sold.
Yeah.
But
Well,
Firefly
she was looking
did.
out for number one.
But then Firefly did, but then still didn't do anything when she went back and redeemed herself. So I love that Firefly had a conscience, which may have already disappeared.
Then burned away,
Her
I'm
character
assuming.
development was so fast.
Yeah.
Well, she's only in 3 episodes.
Well, I know, and that's also how we knew she wasn't going to die. She did have a 3-episode arc.
Yeah.
And
I think they're going to bring her back, though.
character's
She's a
supposed to be
strong
burned back.
character.
Yeah, I love it, and I would love it if she joined the Gotham City Sirens.
I
like if she was
really like her. I really like her. I like that they're developing her. I like that they're not just giving her just a one moment. I think that they are deciding that she's going to be a through-line character and that they're going to continue to have her on the show. Hopefully, it's not just 3 episodes, although we know it is. But hopefully, we get to see her more, and we see her develop through the series with Selena and Ivy, who we got to see for like a hot second. Which
they had, there's like Barb showed up, Ivy showed up.
I was glad she was back at all.
They all kind of just like had these like brief like, hey, look how many women we have in our show. But I mean, I think what I really am afraid is what we don't want is just sort of the Firefly character to become essentially what happened with Kringle. And like, I mean, we took 2 very strong women, and their big scene in this episode before one of them died was about boys. I mean, they literally had a conversation about boys. And I kind of got nervous a little bit around this, like, friendship. Are we hinting at maybe more with Firefly and Selena? Because I don't want, just because they're 2 strong female women, that like that means they have to obviously be lesbians or into each other. That there's nothing wrong with that, but I feel like that's a cop-out. Like, make them independently strong. That doesn't mean there's anything else entangled in that.
And that wasn't my first instinct when the hug happened.
Yeah.
In fact, I was about to be very frustrated because Selena, I'm like, she's just,
You're like,
I'm never going to say I care, but I care. But then she did care, and I thought that that was fantastic. I actually, and I'm going to admit this, it's not good or bad, I teared up. And Kristin saw it, and she called me on it.
I totally saw it. I called him on it super hardcore.
They groaned.
I
both
thought the moment
groaned.
was really superficial. I would have loved to have seen that moment be a really genuine moment. I just don't think that it happened. I don't think that moment was earned. Through the character Selena Kyle, I love her. I love that.
I'm so tied into that character.
You love her so much.
Well, but
and
I know so much about it that I'm so used to that. Her always having another way to show she cares, even though she can't say that she cares.
But see, and this is what we talked about last week with why I was disappointed that they ran her off so quickly, because I feel like in the show, the most we actually get to see her as a real person who cares is when she interacts with Bruce.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because every other time she's like these like one-liners or these sort of like, I'm tough.
Right.
And the only time I've ever seen her as a character, I like actually kind of let her guard down or show that she has feelings for someone else is with Bruce. And I know that some people of the show like really don't like that relationship they're having. I like it because I think it's like, it makes you really see her as real. Where this, I felt was forced. I felt it was very, very forced.
I think the moment that we got to really
built up that they'd known each other since children and that they were. Yeah, and she could have shown she cared before, but I kind of loved the hug. I'm just going to stand by it, you guys.
I love that. I love that you stand by. I think that the moment that we really had, where we really got to see Selena for who she was the moment where she's kind of like crying on the rooftop. After she finds out that Firefly is potentially dead. That was the moment. I feel like that moment was earned. That moment was real, and I really liked that happened, because then we actually got to see her, and it wasn't like, because in the other moment I felt like maybe we have ulterior motives, maybe there's something else there, but in that moment it was really like, I care, and it was so nice. I really
totally was like, oh no, she really cares, and she's finally showing it. But then that's when it got weird, where you said like it got a little lesbian at the end. Like there was something about the way Firefly
I'm not saying
reacted,
it was. I'm saying I felt like it could go that way.
And we hope that it doesn't.
Let's not have them go that way. You can have strong characters without making them lesbians.
Yeah, which is totally fine though, because right in the comic, I think we even got a question like in the comics.
Although I'd love to see Catwoman
is she a lesbian? And she's openly, I think, bisexual in the comics, right?
Yeah, Catwoman is openly bisexual. I'm not saying like a year or two ago it was.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just the first time we've seen 2 really strong female characters, and I was like, please don't like go the like easy route. You know, like she's 14. Let's see her still have these feelings for
that's
Bruce.
true.
Like, let's not have to push it just because we have two strong females.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
Who
I mean,
they could just be
because-
friends.
Yeah, because we forced it on Babs and Tabitha
right. Yeah, I
doesn't
feel
mean
like
we
it
have to
keeps
force it on
just
any other
like anytime they
character.
get two strong females in a room, they're like, now they're totally gonna have sex with each other.
Now kiss
All
in
right,
the Barbies.
boys, we know what you want.
And even though I've said before, I'm totally against Selena killing. When the Pike brothers kidnapped Firefly
You
back,
did yell out.
Oh my
and I'm
God,
like,
kill them!
She had a shotgun in her hand. I'm like, shoot him, he's right there. But then the better payoff is her killing them herself. I love that. I was cheering that she burned her brothers alive. They were horrible people.
Yeah.
They were,
Horrible
and
people.
like
And
that,
she went back and saved the girls. I'm like, I'm loving Firefly right now.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Firefly.
Yeah, I know now she's hideously disfigured and a gorgeous actress, like
Yeah.
playing Firefly, and now she's
I-
started wearing makeup as soon as she came into her own.
Yeah.
She had lipstick on, you guys.
Yeah,
They're like, oh,
totally.
she came into her own, so now her hair will be up and she'll be fully made up. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. It's TV.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
It was definitely. I really hope that they go the route of her insanity, her finding her insanity, because when we do really have the Firefly, and Firefly comes to his insanity, it's because he gets burned. And I'm not exactly thrilled that they said that she was dead, because I feel like I would really like to have a savior moment where Selena went and tried to save her.
Yeah, that would be-
Again, I thought that would have been a cool thing for them to try and
That
do.
could still happen because Selena thinks she's dead, and I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if Gotham sets it up so that Selena figures out that she's alive and goes
Yeah.
to try to rescue her.
That'd be nice.
I hope so.
And last thing for me on this topic about women being stronger and not
gosh.
dependent on men in the show, so writers note, and is that okay, when Firefly does go back to rescue those women, and all the women come running
run out in
out,
their lingerie?
and there's all the cops
cops
there,
are just waiting for
plenty of
Firefly?
cars to help these women.
No one.
Not one of them does.
No.
And that is a simple. It doesn't even have to. There doesn't have to be lines. You see the women and the cops being like, "We'll help you now,
Yeah.
and take you to safety and reconnect you with the families you were kidnapped from, or something."
Yeah.
But no, instead they're more important. They catch
But I
Firefly,
thi-
who killed one cop, as opposed to like the frickin'
Joker, who cleaned out
inspiration.
GCPD.
Which is
that
a
killed
consistent
95 cops.
theme. A consistent theme of women are used in the show a lot of
props.
times as props. And speaking of which, one who I thought was a pretty strong character and well developed, and actually I felt the Riddler backstory and even her death was dealt with. I was super excited
I
with,
kinda
but
loved
I think,
that, yeah.
but I think like that's definitely something we should talk about, because that was definitely a moment where I was like, oh no.
Well, we can just jump to that. I was
Yeah.
gonna go into the children next,
No,
but
we
let's talk
should do
about
that.
Riddler, and because I love his new origin story. I was so moved, and I thought it was so beautifully shot. In fact, shout out to just art direction on this show. It's amazing, the art direction and the cinematography and everything involved there. But I thought it was an amazing scene, and you are all about Kringle and Riddler.
I love Kringle. I love her. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a huge fan. And I think it was just like a moment, and like I love that she fought for herself. Like, she realized, because she's smart, she's a smart woman, and we finally got to see her. Because at first she was like the smitten, and I'll give her that. She was smitten and she was in new love. But she fought for herself in the end. And when she realized that her life was in danger, she fought to survive like any woman would. And the moment where he's trying to like console her whilst also like trying to keep her quiet was horrifyingly beautiful, because it was
Yeah.
a moment of just absolute terror for any person who's watching it. But you can it's terrible that you can understand that he was having a moment.
It
Well,
was
that's
it was so Lenny of Mice and Men.
Yes.
Like, it's so like that. You care so
Yeah.
much.
And that's what I loved
that you
about it too,
don't
was
realize you're
when she
suffocating
first
them.
goes through the door and he like kind of corners her. Gotham has a tendency to get very close to lines that are sometimes, I think, uncomfortable. And I was
Yeah.
like, please
Yes.
don't make this take on like,
Yeah.
you know. And I think that they did it exactly how his character is. You can see where he is going to go and how he's going to get more and more and more evil. But when that happens, when he like kills her accidentally, but kind of, I think, knows that he doesn't. He's just like, he loves her so much. It has that Lenny feel. It was the first time in Gotham where a woman was killed where I was like, I have no issues with this. I think this was done perfect. It was exactly for the story. It was from beginning to end. I just thought both of them. He comes off as the Riddler really starts to emerge, and you see how this is going to affect him so much. And I thought it was done exactly right way.
Just like
done.
you had a moment of tears with Selena, I had a moment of tears with Kristin. I was just like,
we're so connected to our characters.
Yeah, so like ugly
We're so
cry.
tied in.
Barb
Ugly
showed up
cry.
for half a second. I didn't cry.
Oh no!
I was like, we're
It was
missing.
kind
We
of
need
funny,
more
though.
of her.
But I did kind of love her and Tabby, like.
Ugh.
Coming like, oh, what can we do with our new toy? Like, oh, what should we put on him first? A mallet was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But whatever.
In her Harvey colors.
Yeah. All right. So before we run out of time, I would like to jump ahead to the children/young adults that are on the show. And I say young adults because they're not young adults.
I think
they're all they're 14 or under.
I think we should title this segment "You're Very Mature for Your Age."
You're very mature for your age.
That line made me so uncomfortable.
Especially coming from Galavan in that moment, like they were so close, and you both went different directions. I went both places. But one was like, well, that's exactly what every pedophile says to all of their victims.
That was your
where
direction.
Kristin went. And
It
where
was so
you
crazy.
went
My
was
direction
like,
is,
this is the writer's.
I think the writing. I feel like that was the writers being like, guys, all these kids are very mature for their age. Because
none
one of
them
my
are
big
children.
issues with the show is that constantly I'm like, how old are these kids? Like, why are people treating Selena like she's 14, right, or however old she's supposed to
Yeah.
be? Like, why are police detectives paying? Like, even she has a shotgun. Like, put that kid in juvie. I don't understand why we're constantly just like, oh, it's cool. It's totally cool.
And Bullock, who didn't have a lot this
Yeah.
episode, which generally I like, has
Oh, yeah,
this
with
scene
Ivy.
with Ivy.
Where he's like, I'll just let you go. Like, children are just
He's
wandering.
like, well, do you want me to like bring you into like
So
wherever, or should I
yeah.
just give you a candy bar and pretend I don't know that you're living here
So
by yourself?
I think
or
they, and I
whatever?
also think they go back and forth. Like, I feel like the writers want us to think that Selena is more mature for her age than it comes across, and then at the same time, like, Bruce is getting punched in the face, but they're like, he's still not as mature for his age. So like, I'm never, and then that dynamic will switch based off the story. So it confuses me sometimes, like, how we're supposed to view these children and why other people don't view them as children a lot of times.
And I
Right.
would like to shout out, and by shout out, I mean just call attention to, again, Alfred, stop putting your hands on children.
Stop hitting the
they
kids,
They cannot
Alfred.
be hit. They cannot be wounded or slapped or punched. I don't care.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Stop
I'm going to
it.
disagree with you on this because I was really against when Alfred slapped Selena. I was like, that is
That kid is not in your
completely-
care.
And I know
Yeah.
you've made the joke like, well, she did kill someone, but I felt like that was just completely out of character for him, and it really bothered me actually.
Yeah.
Like, why would you hit a child like that? But I felt with the Bruce, it's in the training, and I thought it
Part
was
of the
smart
training.
that he said, you know, like, you have to fight harder, and Bruce bites his arm, and so it's like, oh, we're playing dirty now, before he punched him after. So then I
And
was
then
like,
he played dirty by distracting
right,
him
and
by
that's
bringing
and
up
that's
the
where I
girl
thought
he
like that
likes,
was a
yeah.
justified, and it was done in a way where like Bruce was like, okay, you're getting me. But it is true.
Totally.
Alfred needs to stop hitting children just so much in the show.
Yeah, it's
Really.
just one of those things like, okay, and I personally, I know that Alfred does partially train Bruce. I don't see Alfred as being the main source of Bruce's training. And I don't think that, I don't think that they're covering it. I definitely feel that they should have someone else training Bruce, or like, you know, Alfred, oh, I called in a friend of mine to come and train you, and they did something for that. But I just don't see him, I just don't see him as the sole trainer, and I don't see why he is like beating up on Bruce. I feel like they need to have someone else, someone more trained. And I get it, he's special ops and he's got all that stuff in like the British Army, but I just don't see him.
I think the thing that, the
not-
thought that crossed my mind when he was training him, actually, which goes against your point, I actually don't mind that he's training him. I think that it's interesting.
Especially at this age,
But
I think.
my thing is that there's such a power dynamic with the two of them, right? It goes back and forth between like, you know, he's the butler and he's this child, but he's still like sir all the time, and now he's training him. And at what point, you know, the Batman that we know, like Alfred is definitely not Alfred's like a helper and becomes like an assistant in I think almost every version,
Right.
or he either like doesn't know or he's super involved but he's still assisting. Like So that's going to be an interesting power dynamic if the guy who's training you suddenly now is like your butler as we go forward into the Gotham universe. And I think that's a question that, like, while he was training him, I was like, that dynamic doesn't work. It's not going to work.
Well, and I think, but that's why I say at this age, I think it's okay, because I think at some point, if it's along with the rest of Batman lore, he's going to go off and get serious, like, ninja frickin' training or whatever, you know, like.
Maybe we see Ra's al Ghul.
Right, exactly what I'm talking about, and so that I feel like which I think would be really interesting in future seasons to have
It'd
him
be interesting
that
if
world.
he starts getting trained by what's his name right now?
I don't
totally
know
just
what
drew a
you're
blank. You're very mature for your age.
Galavan?
Galavan. If Galavan starts, sorry, I just drew a blank. If Galavan, because we'll talk about this later when we get to children, but I love that line when they're at dinner. We love that line when they get to dinner and Silver's like, you should come over more. And I was like, she lives in that house?
Right.
Like, how is she in that house?
Out in that house with all of these, the collection of villains that he's put together, all the death and the torture of all these you know, whatever.
We should
like, whatever. But
we should take a break, but we should cover that when we come back. Because
Yes,
that is
we're
crazy
gonna-
that she's in that house.
We're going to take a break, show you some of the other after shows we got on the show, and we'll be right back here. So, see you in a minute.
Just in case you missed it live.
In case you missed it live.
In case you missed it live.
In case you missed it live, this is for you.
I love it.
That was
freaking
how
oh
did they not
my God.
I didn't see any of this coming. Yeah, I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah,
I was like,
How did you get here? No.
like, kill him. Definitely kill him. We're cool.
Shade. Shade left and right, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies, let's put your 2 cents in.
Rubbed me the wrong way and the right way.
But you were like, well, we want to know what's gonna happen.
That was killed.
We just want to say we love you all. Thank you so much for your support. You are all seriously the best in the world. and
Another
we appreciate
beautiful
you so
summer
much.
at the stream.tv, y'all.
Here we go, guys.
Thank you for being here. Peace out.
Bye, guys.
Welcome back to the Gotham After Show on the stream.tv. So we were just going through a lot of the questions we've been getting.
Yeah.
And I'm going to hand it off to, should we do Twitter first, Jay, or what do you?
Well, I didn't really have so many questions as much as comments, but I think that one of the questions
That happens a lot.
got in, one of the questions that I thought was most interesting when we got in during the show was, do we think that Penguin's being set up?
Yes.
Definitely.
And that whole,
like, for sure.
that whole sort of, did they break him, and how did they break him? That's actually,
That's what I wanna know.
The off-screen thing is, I want to know how they broke his.
I want to know what she did.
Yeah.
But I
Zach's
can understand
control.
them hiding that for now because we're not supposed to know whether he was broken or not. But I feel like the
I
telltale
think he definitely is broken.
is
He's not
that
twitching.
He wasn't twitching, exactly.
He's
Yeah.
not
That
twitching.
was
I
the
think it's.
thing.
I don't think there was a question. It's definitely set. But that dinner also, real quick, when she shows up with the blood on her mouth.
Oh my gosh.
Like, how does she? She was like she's ripping out with her teeth.
Which is my whole thing right
the
before her
brainwashing.
point is that Silver lives in the house apparently when she's like, oh yeah, Bruce, you should come over and hang out.
Which was
but like the first scene in the episode, there's a guy hanging from the doorway.
Yeah.
Like with his neck. Like, did she?
And where is Silver when this is happening?
Yeah, like, do
That
they
was
only
another
do
one
it
of our-
during school hours is the only time? They're like, hey, get all the bodies out of here. It's 3:30. She's coming home. Like, that's when they're like hiding it from her.
Yeah.
Well, Silver's
Totally.
very mature for her
They
age, so
haven't-
she doesn't go to school.
She's in a lot of after-school activities. Just keeps her away all the time.
That was another one of our
Exactly.
questions that we got from our fans on the YouTube, which was, do you guys believe that Silver is innocent or guilty if she knows about Theo Galavan's plans? I completely think that she is 100% innocent. I want her to be, like, clean cut and pure, and they
And
don't
she's a
want
Bruce
it at
Wayne
all.
love interest in the comic books.
I think I did. This is theories happening right now. I think I would actually argue that she probably is not innocent, only because they met at that dinner and she was like in the fountain like playing, and then it was like why
Which
is
was
that girl
crazy.
randomly
white
playing in a
dress.
fountain in
There
a
was
white dress?
something
And made her
off.
very like, and then he's like, oh, she just transferred to school, and this feud goes back so far that I would not be surprised if they got another 14-year-old girl to be like, you're gonna seduce this little kid that we plan on killing, right? Like,
Yeah.
Right.
which also
Yeah.
then makes sense why she's in the house and not shocked by like the fact that like the mayor is in a cage in her living room, you know?
Yeah, I'm really curious as to where that's all going to go.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions you want to shout out on either one?
At Waffle Juice tweeted,
Waffle Juice.
Gotham just killed another woman tonight and set up another little girl to be tortured, which is kind of goes with our whole theme of like the way women are treated in the show.
And when Gotham is kind of close to crossing a line,
It's
with
always
the
right.
like
It's always
so
right on a
uncomfortable.
line. And
Yeah.
then the next one we have is from at Morgan Scorpion, and I just thought it was hilarious. She tweets, "Why can't you just roll over and go to sleep like most guys?" She's talking about.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, that just made me laugh really hard because I was like, "You're right. Nothing can just be normal in this world."
No.
Yeah.
As
He
well
could
as
have
that
just-
scene was done.
He could have just been like, yeah, babe, no, it's fine. Everything's been taken care of. What do you mean? Oh,
I also-
It was-
I had a
I also like
It was
friend.
too soon.
I also like
It
that
was too
I also
soon.
love that one of her
Nygma.
like one of the last lines she gets to say is in his studio apartment. Is that your bedroom over there? It's like, it's his bed. He lives in a studio. It's the left side of the
Hey,
room.
Is that wall
there
over-
has to be a little bit of romance left behind.
Is that
I'm just
corner your
saying,
bedroom?
Is that corner your
I
bedroom?
totally would have been like, hey, is that your bedroom?
Gonna use
over
that in the
there?
future.
Instead of being like, hey, there's the bed, let's go.
Yeah, maybe. Well, you would know you're her tonight, so
I am.
you have, yeah.
So that's why I did it.
Before we run out of time, I definitely think we have to discuss those final moments when we find out Firefly is alive. Because what is that? Where is she? Because that's not like the basement of Arkham, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's not like, in fact, isn't everybody think she's dead? Like, who got her?
Everyone-
I have so many questions. Who are they showing? Who's the
I would
woman in the
love-
black
I would love
leather?
if
Like,
I would love if the doll maker showed back up.
No,
in,
I
like-
hate
oh god, that
him.
was so disturbing.
Because
I hate
only
him.
So
the only reason
disturbing.
why, and this is my only reason why, because I actually am with you and I hate him. But the only reason why is because I felt like in the first season, every episode was like a new villain, and then they kind of have all just disappeared. And some of them have died, but a lot of them have not. And I would like to start to see them come back into Gotham and influence the villains that Batman will one day fight. Where like right now, like all those villains are sort of like been like. Except for the main ones, like we don't really care. We're taking the. I like the new direction of like the sort of full out storylines as opposed to like a new villain every week.
Right.
But
I hate
But
villain
I
of the
would like
week
to see maybe a
on
few of them
anything.
come back as opposed to them just gone.
As they still live in Gotham,
Yeah.
and they're still somewhere.
Yeah.
What I would like is to hear your guys' theories on all of this with the hashtag GothamAS. But also, I would like to like, wouldn't it be interesting if, like, that place where they're experimenting, like, this is where these freaks come from, like these really messed up villains. Is like a lot of them are coming from
don't call them
these
freaks. It makes them angry.
experimentations. Well,
The villain factory.
because they're real. Well, like,
Yeah.
but they're all like really off. They're all like psychotic,
Yeah.
and like if people are doing experiments on them or giving them these sort of like powers.
I'm
that they
excited because
have,
we.
it would be interesting.
We had to come and film right away, so we didn't like get to. I want to go back and actually just rewatch because there's like so
Yeah, I
many
kinda
little
wanna watch
clips
it
that
in
I feel like I
slow
missed
motion.
stuff that I want to
Yeah,
go back, and we just
totally.
didn't have time. But I definitely want to do that.
because
Yeah.
we had to get this.
So
We
if
had to
you
come
know,
talk to
if you saw
guys.
something we didn't see, please let us
us
know because
know.
I really want to
Yes.
know what.
Yeah, or if there's something you want us to discuss that we didn't cover, because there was so much to cover this week.
Yes, please
then let
tweet
us know,
at us.
and we'll have the conversation all week long, and then bring it up maybe again next week.
Yeah, and we'd like to thank our partners before we go. We'd like
For
to
sure.
thank at Bam Smack Pow, at Before the Bat Podcast. We'd also like to thank Central Gotham, Gotham Army, Gotham Women, Gotham Men.
Anything
and-
Gotham.
Yeah,
We
Gotham
thank
City.
you.
All the Gothams.
We love you all. And thank you so much for watching the Gotham After Show. Hashtag GothamAS.
Good night, guys.
Talk
See
to
you
you
next
this
week. We'll talk to you all week, but we'll see you next week.
Of course. For more of the Gotham After Show,
Click that button down there.
And subscribe to the stream.tv.